don't know about you guys, but I cannot believe that we're already 1 month into this year. I usually like to think of January as a warm-up month. Well, my apologies to the people to the north and east of us. But anyway, February is usually where we see what kind of year the market wants to be. So today I'm going to walk you through the January numbers for the Phoenix metro area, what they're actually telling us, and what that means to you if you are planning to buy or sell your home this year. I'm Maegann Yarbrough with HomeSmart, and this is your Phoenix Metro real estate update with the AZ Real Estate Geek. Hey there, real estate geeks. Happy February. There's finally a chill in the air until noon when we have to turn the ACs back on. Like our mercurial weather, the real estate market is always changing. So now that we have a little data under our belts, we can start talking about actual patterns and not just guesses. Let's jump right in. Looking at January across the Phoenix metro area, the big theme here is balance, or at least moving toward balance. Active listings are sitting at 18,863, which is up 4.7% this time last year. Sold listings came in around 3,900, which is pretty flat basically since last year. Months of supply moved up to 4.81 months, and that is an important number. It is telling us that we are still slightly favoring buyers, but not by a lot. If you remember the 2021 and 2022 era, we were sitting around 1 month of inventory. So this is a different metric. 4.81 means that there are more homes on the market, which means more choices, more selection for buyers. Median price per square foot came down to $255.49, which is down about 2.9% since last year. And median days on market increased to 69 days. None of these numbers on their own are overtly dramatic, but they do tell a consistent story. Buyers are being a little more selective. Homes are taking a little bit longer to sell, and pricing is doing its normal early year adjustment where sellers are starting to test the water and buyers are trying to decide if they're really serious. January in the Phoenix area also brings out a certain type of inventory. We're looking more at higher end homes and retirement communities, and your normal cookie cutter 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes tend to ramp up closer to March. And this seasonal pattern is showing up pretty early this year. If you look a little deeper at the pricing, the median per square foot pricing did dip a little bit, and so did the overall median sales price. A big part of that has to do with what we're selling. So later last year, we sold a lot of high-end luxury homes, which overall pushed up the median sales price for the whole entire Phoenix metro area. That has waned a little bit in January, and now we're seeing more of the lower end or more medium-sized homes coming on the market and selling, which is dipping that price point down a little bit. At the same time, though, demand is actually going up a little bit. Our pending and under contract numbers are up, and that has to do with a little bit on the interest rates being at a nice, comfy, low 6%, which is normal. So buyers right now, they're just still being cautious. They're still in this wait and see pattern. They're trying to see if the interest rates will go down a little bit more. They're trying to see if home prices will go down a little more or worse, a crash. There are so many mixed messages in the media right now about the housing industry that even one tiny metric can cause big headlines and throw people off their game on wanting to buy a home, but not necessarily feeling secure about it. I am working on a video right now on real estate affordability. So if you're one of those people that are still kind of sitting on the fence, doing the wait and see thing, If you want to see how affordability works for you, and if it's something that you really want to dive deep into, subscribe to my channel and watch for that video. But for now, here's what we can see locally. For buyers, we still are in a window where you have some leverage. Not unlimited leverage, but some leverage. Seller concessions are still very common. Days on market are going a little bit longer. So if you are prepared to negotiate, you can still get a pretty good deal. However, based on the trends, that window is closing as we are moving away from this very rare buyer's market into a balanced market. Let's take seller concessions, for example. Seller concessions are when the seller gives credits to the buyer to kind of sweeten the deal so that the buyer will buy their house. And that can come in some money for repairs or some money to buy down their interest rate. August 2025 had the highest percentage of sales that had seller concessions attached than any other time that I have records for. And it was 57% of the transactions had seller concessions attached to it somewhere. And the average amount of those seller concessions were around $10,000. And that's kind of holding pretty steady. Compare that to May of 2021, when only 10% of sales had any sort of seller concession attached to it. And the average, if there were some, were $3,000. That was a time of a serious seller's market where houses were practically selling themselves and sellers didn't need to sweeten the deal. They just had multiple offers just coming in. You know, why would they want to throw any extra money when they were getting top dollar as it is? So 57% in August, and in December of 2025, it was down to 53%. So the trend is dipping, which means because there's more inventory, buyers have more options, but now that buyer interest and demand is starting to increase on all aspects, that seller's market is going to start drying up as more and more buyers dive back into the real estate market, feel more secure about buying their home. The sellers will not be offering these kind of concessions for a while, and not at that amount. You have room to negotiate here, so this is the best time you're going to have to buy in the foreseeable future. For the foreseeable future. So for sellers, days on market are going a little bit longer than we would see, but that is that transition that we're going from a more saturated buyer's market into a more balanced market. Homes that are priced accurately and are optimal and ready to sell so that buyers don't have to fix up anything, so they don't have to do any repairs, they're selling fairly quickly at a reasonable price. You just have to be ready with strategy as you go in to sell that home. You want to be able to go on the market, ready to go, and the buyers will come. But even with all the media about the real estate market and where it's headed and the insecurities and the indecisions and the how do we know what's going to happen the next few months, and really watching the next 60, 90 days is going to make a big difference in deciding what direction everything's going. Home prices move slowly with the market and the market trends, so we can't just necessarily depend on that. So what we're going to do is stay local and see where some of the activity is actually happening. Cities like Goodyear, Peoria, Scottsdale, they all saw growth last year, and that trend is still continuing to grow. Smaller communities like Waddell, Anthem, Sun Lakes, they're also showing a slight demand increase there. We're also seeing a demand in some of the outskirts cities like Santan Valley, Surprise, Buckeye. A lot of these communities still have plenty of brand new homes that have great incentives and decent prices, and buyers are still going to drive till they can afford. These micro trends don't always show up in the headlines, but they absolutely 100% matter if you're deciding where you want to move in the valley and what kind of strategy you want to come into when you're looking for that home. So again, February is when the market's going to start establishing itself and what its seasonality is going to trend like. The next 60 to 90 days are going to make a big difference on watching interest rates, trends, housing prices, but also following the normal seasonality that the Phoenix market normally has. But based on the trends that we're seeing now, we are slowly moving out of that buyer's market and we're going to balance. So if you're a numbers person and you want a nice clean breakdown of everything that we discussed here, see some graphs, see some infographics, there's some links in the description that you can go to get some of those resources. You can also subscribe to my newsletter if you want some ongoing updates and seasonal tips. Before I let you go, here is some random Phoenix trivia I came across. Early settlers of this city, when they were naming the city, one of the top names that they were about to land on was Pumpkinville. Pumpkinville. I guess there were some wild pumpkins growing here, but they eventually settled on Phoenix because of the whole rising from the ashes thing. But I think Pumpkinville would have given us a pretty cool autumn vibe, minus the leaf peeping. Can you do cactus peeping? Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. And if you found this information helpful at all, smash that subscribe button so you can get some more really helpful videos. And hit that like if you liked it. And of course, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the Phoenix metro area, all my contact information will be below as well. And I'd love to help you out. Until next time, stay geeky, my friends.